Hi, everyone. Welcome. We will get started in just a minute. We'll allow some time for everyone to join. So while you are waiting, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat, name, where you're from, and then we will get started very soon. All right, we'll give about one more minute and then we will get started. So thanks everyone for introducing yourself. We look forward to a great webinar today. All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second webinar in CURC's 2025 webinar series. We appreciate you taking this time to be with us this afternoon. Today's presentation topic is Climbing Move Out Mountain, Effective Programs for Managing Move Out Waste. My name is Leanna Hauser. I am the Sustainability Manager for Zero Waste at Johns Hopkins University, and I serve on the CURC board as a member of the webinar committee. For those of you not familiar with CURC, we are a community of zero waste champions in higher education. We are a free, remember that, free member-based organization that works towards waste reduction, diversion, and sustainable materials management through information sharing, educational support, and networking opportunities between staff, faculty, and students. Today's session is part of our free CURC webinar series that runs every other month throughout the year. The webinar series is designed to highlight innovative campus programs and provide trends and perspectives on a broad range of operational and educational topics related to collegiate recycling and sustainable materials management. We have a few housekeeping notes to go over. If you have any problems with your audio or video during the webinar, you can visit Zoom Support Center by visiting support.zoom.us. To avoid background noise, we've placed all but our panelist lines on mute. During the session, we encourage you to submit questions at any time using the Q&A section to type us a note or to type a question to any of the panelists or myself. And we'll get to as many of those as possible at the end of the presentation. So we'll hear from our presenters first and then respond to questions. But for general comments or notes, please feel free to use the chat function in the dashboard. So again, use the Q&A for questions about the webinar to the panelists, and use the chat to chat with each other. Copies of today's presentation slides will be available to download, and the full recording will be available to stream on the CURC website at www.curc3r.org. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. So, 1 second. There we go. I'm not going to stop sharing. I just want to take a moment to encourage folks to join Recycle Listserv. This is a great resource that covers all sorts of topics related to recycling and waste reduction programs at the college and university campuses, as well as related topics of interest to persons responsible for planning and implementing such programs. Subscription to Recycle is free and open to anyone. To subscribe, please visit the link shown in the slide or in the chat that Travis will put in. And our tech support team will drop a link in the chat, as I mentioned. You'll see a button which reads Ask to Join Group. Once you complete this, you will be able to post and respond to messages as well as receive emails with messages from the listserv. So before we begin, I'd like to introduce Tom Lembo from Clean River Recycling Solutions. We would like to thank you for generously, and your company for generously sponsoring our webinar series for this year. The floor is yours, Tom.
Thank you so much, and I will try to make this not be too commercially, but I want to share how important CURC has been to Clean River and the growth we've had and over the years. So, am I being seen now? I think I am. So I just want to say Clean River is very proud to be hosting the CURC seminar today, and CURC has played a significant role in Clean River's journey and success over the years, and we're truly grateful for the partnership and insights we've gained throughout this, what I call, incredible community. About 35 years ago, our founder, Bruce Buchan, was excited that he was creating a recycling container made from recycled plastic lumber. So for those of us who don't know who Clean River is, we manufacture student-facing waste and recycling containers. And at the time, the innovation of making a recycling container from recycled plastic lumber was like a game changer. But in working with colleges and universities and people through CURC, we quickly realized there was much more to building a successful recycling program than just containers themselves. So it was through listening to the conversations through CURC and engaging with this community that we began to truly understand the depth of what it makes to make a recycling program effective. So we learned about our customers' real needs, the challenges they face, and the importance of providing support just beyond delivering a product. So what we discovered and what CURC helped us see is that success doesn't come from simply dropping off a recycling bin and wishing someone good luck. You know, it's so much more than that. It's supporting our clients every step of the way and continually learning and improving. So on that note, like a lot of the things that we learned when we're talking about a recycling program is getting people to understand what to do when they're standing in front of that recycling container. If you have to make it so it's so intuitive that you have 2 seconds to get people's attention and they need to know where it goes. So communicating, making sure the bin communicates and the program communicates. And then of course, controlling the cost of recycling and contamination penalties, making sure that the janitorial staff is involved and engaged and they find the containers easy to use, easy to clean. We help adhere to latest regulations and hauler requirements. An example, if anyone is from California, the SB 1383 rule. And then if the organization, if the university has financial and sustainability targets that they want to hit, then we do that too. And of course, achieving external certificates, zero waste, that type of thing. Through the community that we've had with CURC over the years, I wanted to share this because it was actually really interesting. We've actually developed products because of this community. People who have come to us with problems and said, hey, do you have a solution? And the first one was probably in 2014, 2013, a pizza box bin. And that was an issue for so many reasons. Number one, it was filling up the waste stream. And number two, in some cases, you could recycle or compost them. So it helped divert them out of landfill and certainly help them divert out of the waste stream, which was being a janitorial nightmare. The cardboard bin, a lot of people have said, we're struggling with Amazon packages and the number of packages these students are receiving in the dorm rooms. Do you have a solution for that? So again, working with them, we came up with a product that works. And then, probably the coolest one is a couple of schools came to us and said, you know what, there's a lot of products that people are confused about. Is there any way we could position a bin next to our existing waste and recycling containers where they can place a product that they don't know where it goes? And then this will give us an indicator as we go through it every week of what people are confused about and how we can communicate those items back to the community. So again, not our ideas, it's just ideas working with your community and why it's so important to us. So I won't take up too much of your time, but like thanks to what we've learned through CURC, we've not only grown as a community, we've also been able to help our customers achieve their sustainability goals more effectively. So I want to thank everyone for being part of this journey with us. We're excited for what today holds. This is a very exciting topic and what we'll continue to learn together. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. It's great to have a partner and not just a vendor. Really appreciate the partnership with CURC and all of our members. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Let's get to the topic at hand.
All right, Leanna, hopefully you guys can all see my screen.
1 second. I was just gonna introduce you guys.
Okay.
And then we will move ahead. Can everyone see the webinar screen? Okay.
Yes.
Great. So real quick. So again, we just want to thank everyone for joining us. So this most daunting topic, tackling the challenges of student move out waste. Today we'll be learning from Wes Dripps, Director of Sustainability at Amherst College, and Carla Iansiti, Student Life and Engagement Sustainability Officer at Michigan State University, as they share strategies for streamlining move out collection, engaging students, encouraging a circular economy, and maximizing waste diversion. Whether you're looking to refine an existing program or build a new one, this session will provide practical insights to help your campus navigate the move out mountain with success. This webinar will be ideal for sustainability and waste professionals, facilities managers, communication folks, and anyone interested in expanding their knowledge. With that, I'd like to welcome our first presenter, Wes from Amherst. So go ahead, Wes, you can share your screen and take it away.
All right, hopefully you can see the screen. We good? Well, welcome everyone. Good to see everyone on this Thursday afternoon. As Leanna said, my name is Wes Dripps. I'm the Director of Sustainability here at Amherst College. I thought with a little context, because I do think context matters when you're trying to tackle the move out waste. I'm at Amherst College. We're a small liberal arts institution located in Western Massachusetts. We have about 1,900 students or so. And one important thing to note is that we're essentially a 4-year residential campus. So all our students live on campus, which basically means we have a lot more oversight and control of the mounds of move out waste that are generated. Some of your institutions you're probably battling the off-campus housing challenge, which is a whole nother beast when it comes to kind of move out. I guess another thing to say, we're a tiny office, so we're an office of 2. There's myself. I have one post-bac, so it's a recent grad who stays on for the office every year, and that position turns over. So all the things I'm going to share with you today in terms of how we've approached move out are really dependent on a large number of campus partners. So I'm kind of speaking on our collective behalf, although our office has been kind of running point on this. And the last thing I'll say is that I'm actually in academic affairs. So I report up under the provost, which not necessarily relevant to this, but I know many other offices are maybe tied to facilities or stuff where there might be other ties. All right, let's hop in. I've been at the college 3 years, and I actually am an Amherst alum. And when I came back to take over and start their Office of Sustainability, I experienced my first move out that May and was a little bit horrified, probably like any of you are when that move out happens, just how much usable stuff was finding its way into the dumpsters and off to the landfill, and made it kind of a personal objective of mine in the office to really get involved and think more strategically about how do we close the loop. So not only are we generating a ton of waste on the landfill side, but then I experienced my first kind of move in, and I proceeded to watch all the incoming students go buy the exact same stuff that was showing up in the dumpsters in that May. And so I really wanted to move us from kind of this more kind of linear model to a more kind of closed loop approach. And we're now in like the 3rd year of what I'm going to share. It continues to evolve, but I feel pretty good about kind of where we've ended. And we've had a really, really good diversion rate from the stuff that we've collected. I'm not sure what I'm sharing is going to be necessarily earth-shattering, probably similar to what many of you do at your campuses. But here we go. I'll tell you how we kind of proceed. I think from a framework standpoint, some of you may be familiar with the zero waste hierarchy. I mean, for me, the real is how do we push ourselves up the chain? So instead of focusing our efforts on the recycling side, if we can really move us more to the reuse and ideally even the reduction side, which the closed loop would lend itself to, that's really where I want to end up. And so I'm going to talk about the three components that we've approached and really look at move out and move in as kind of a one and the same in terms of, so in addition to move out, you'll see how it feeds into move in. I'll share collection, how we collect it, how we store it and sort it, and then how we redistribute what we do collect. It's that time of the year when move out is quickly upon us, and I've been working with our housing office and our facilities team and custodial teams to begin prepping for the upcoming move out. The first thing that I think is probably self-evident is the easier and more convenient you can make for students to donate, the easier it is and less likely that they're going to turn around and dump it in the dumpster. And so I've worked with our housing team. We set up a drop spot with a banner pictured here in every one of our 34 residence halls. So it's in the first floor common space. It has a marked out area where students can donate clothing, room decor, furniture from their rooms if they'd like. We open it up on the last day of classes and keep those drop spots open right through graduation. So it's about a 2-week window where students are able to drop stuff in these locations. Our custodial team hand delivers actually donation bags. So each room gets 2 trash bags with designated donation stickers, one for clothing and one for kind of other donations, so things like room decor. Those get distributed on the last day of classes, the same day that we open up these drop spots. And there's a lot of messaging that happens to our housing office to all students. And we continue to really refine this about like what to donate and what not to donate. The first year I did this, there was a lot of wish donating where we would get broken pieces, broken electronics or half open things of food or really dirty or damaged kind of products, where we've really tried to kind of remind students that that can go to the landfill where appropriate, and that we really only want things that are donatable and usable again. And so over those 2 weeks, I make the rounds, checking in maybe every other day. And as a mass accumulates, I work with our facilities team to pick it all up. The game changer for us, instead of, I know many other institutions will partner with like a third party like Goodwill or Salvation Army or a local survival center, and they will take all that stuff away. We've decided to try to keep it on campus. And what really changed our approach was we have an ice rink on campus that has ice in it 8 months of the year. But it turns out from May through September, there is no ice in the ice rink. And so it is sitting kind of idle at those times. And so that has, I approached the athletic department and said, hey, is there any way I could use the ice rink as a temporary storage/staging facility to amass all the donations that we collect during move out? And so this is a picture from last May and pretty typical of what I saw the May before and likely what I'll see in a couple of weeks. But as we go around and empty all those donation spots, our facilities team, the students helping, can kind of take it down. They don't have to sort it. They don't have to curate it. They literally just dump it in this giant mass. And then I hire a student to spend the summer through my office actually going through and curating that giant pile. And we've focused on really 3 different, I would say, donation streams. One is I'm calling room decor. So these are things like fans and notebooks and desk lamps and all the stuff that someone might have in their room. The second that we had a lot of, and by a lot of I mean thousands and thousands of books we accumulated. Some of those were leisure reads, some of those were textbooks, some of those were research books that they had. And then the last was clothing. We got a lot of clothing as well. And so over the course of the 8 weeks of the summer, I have a student who works down at the rink, and I go down and pitch in every once in a while, and I have other students that kind of help out to keep that fellow company as they make their way through the giant pile, curating it with the eye basically that, I guess the level I say is, would a student use this? And if the answer is yes, we hang on to it. If the answer is no, and it's, damaged or something, then we will find a way to recycle it. And so with time and over the course of the summer, they curate it all, and we set up a giant yard sale that we open up during pre-orientation and during orientation. And so pictured here is Fen. Fen was my sorter last summer who went through that huge pile and put it into some level of organization. And this features all the room decor items. So we have students that start moving in early August. We have our summer bridge students, so our low income and first gen students get first crack at all these materials. Then our international students come a week later, and then our first-year students arrive on campus. And so over a course of about 2 weeks, we make all this available to students for free. We give it back to them for free. I went back and forth whether we would try to sell it, but honestly, the bookkeeping and all the challenges associated with collecting money or running credit cards and things like that, just decided that we would just do it as a service through the office back to our students. And I've been pleasantly surprised that it has been wildly popular. So, this is one of those days where this was, I think, when the international students arrived, or it might have been the summer bridge students arrived. But they are always excited to kind of have access to all this stuff, and it prevents them from running down to the big box stores just down the road, the Targets, the Walmarts, or even ordering off Amazon. And we've messaged them all in advance, like before you go buy any of that stuff, please come check out the yard sale and see that you might be pleasantly surprised that you can probably outfit your room pretty well with all the things that are there. We've run it now for 3 years, and I'd say we've diverted probably 90% of what we put out gets picked up. So I feel really good in terms of that piece. The second piece I mentioned was the clothing. So 2 weeks after that, we clear out the rink. And I have my eco reps that are now back on campus in early September, and we stage a large clothing event in the same space. This is the picture from last year, kind of the pre-free clothing event extravaganza. This is what it looked like. And we open it up to the campus community for 2 days. Students love this. This generation seems to be very excited about thrifting. Again, we give these clothes back to them for free. And it's open to the campus community. And people joke about students don't like to get up early, but we usually open this up on like 8 a.m. on a Thursday. And I think last year the line was maybe about 400 or 500 deep. And they show up in mass and get very excited about thrifting kind of through all these materials. I think we had I guesstimated about 10,000 pieces of clothes last year, and we're able to repurpose probably close to about 65% of those. The remaining clothes and the remaining room decor do go to a local survival center. And they're excited to get it as well, because again, we've curated it so we're not giving them junk and we're not giving them things that aren't usable. So it's a win-win with that regard. And then the last waste stream is the books. And I struggled with this one a little bit more, but we've now subdivided the books, I would say, into leisure reads and then academic reads. And we've set up free little libraries in all the first-year residence halls that get populated with all the leisure reads. And again, I wasn't sure how popular this is going to be, but I've actually been pleasantly surprised. I'm regularly replenishing them and checking in on them, and there definitely seems to be a fair amount of circulation. For the academic texts, I have 2 things. One, we had been using, we'd set up kind of free shelves in the campus library, and that was great, and there were a fair number of folks that would come through that. But this past year, I had the idea of, we have a family weekend where a lot of parents, particularly regional parents, will come for the weekend to visit their student. And I said, well, what if we have a book fair? So we organized a free book fair in my office. And again, I wasn't sure how it was going to go over, but was wildly surprised where it was less the students interested in the academic text, but the parents were very interested. And it made sense. These are, a faculty member somewhere decided this was a book that our students should be reading. And so it was actually a very nice kind of intellectually curated list of books. And parents went crazy. And I actually was able to repurpose probably about 70% of the books that we put out were taken in that one weekend, which was great. One last waste stream I'll mention before I turn it over to Carla. As we came out of COVID and I began to look there, we were noticing there are a fair number of abandoned bicycles around campus as well. So we started a tagging system to go around and tag bikes during, at the end of move out to see which bikes were really in circulation and which had either been abandoned or left behind for various reasons. Sometimes they'd fallen into disrepair. Shockingly, sometimes they just get left behind. And I was surprised to see that we amassed over 100 bicycles in various states that we now have collected. And we opened up a campus bike co-op that is student run. So I hire a bike technician through my office who has the skills and know-how to fix up bikes. But instead of fixing them up and selling them, we've developed this great kind of work to own program where students can come, and if they want a bike, they can claim one of the abandoned bicycles. And if they put in the time under the guidance of the bike tech to fix it up themselves, and invest if they need, brakes or some miscellaneous parts, they have to pay for those themselves. But if they're willing to put in that time and that effort, they can have the bike for free. This has been wildly popular. And I would say of the 100 bikes, at least 40 or 50 of them have been claimed and are back in action kind of on campus. We like this model as well because instead of us just fixing up and selling it, now if a bike goes into disrepair, the student knows how to fix it because they know how to fix a tire, they know how to keep their chain fixed up or tighten the brakes. And so that's been, again, how can we educate the campus to kind of take more responsibility so we don't have abandoned bicycles still showing up. So I guess my 4 quick tips in terms of suggestions, as you think about this, and again, I realize everything I've shared may not be a good fit for your campus, but definitely have a clear, well-organized, well-communicated plan in place. As I mentioned, I'm a tiny office of 2, so I really lean on, this is a collaborative effort with housing, res life, facilities, my office, and in this case, athletics. They've been integral. If I didn't have the ice rink, I'm not sure I could pull the clothing event off for sure, and the room decor yard sale as well. I found the easier it is for students to donate, more convenient, the easier, instead of having them take it to a centralized place somewhere, across campus, by having it in the residence hall, has made it really easy to kind of hit them before it's closer for them to take it to that donation spot than to dump it in the dumpster that's outside their residence hall. I mentioned the space, I realize space is always tight. I got lucky with the ice rink. It just happened to work out, but having that space to collect and curate has really given me time to actually not have to rush through the stuff. We can be very methodical and kind of work at a nice, efficient pace to kind of really decide what's salvageable and what's not. And every summer I've hired one student to kind of take that on as a summer project, and it's worked out great. And then having organized annual opportunities or partners to redistribute it. That free clothing event I mentioned in the yard sale have become like huge all-campus events. I would say the clothing event, maybe 75% or more of the student body, or really the campus community shows up for that event. So it's a really high-profile event. It's great for the office in terms of exposure. And same thing with the orientation yard sale. It's now built into our orientation. So it's part of the program. They get messaging about it. And that really has, I think, helped us create kind of a culture of more of a circular economy kind of closed loop approach. And with that, I will turn it over to Carla for the next segment.
Thank you so much, Wes. This was fantastic. There's no way anyone can come away without a new idea from your presentation. Really appreciate it. So we'll turn that over to Carla and hear what you have to say at Michigan.
Michigan State.
Sorry, Michigan State. In the state of Michigan, Michigan State.
Yes. Yeah. That was pretty incredible stuff you got going on there, Wes. That's something else. All right. Let me get to my turn here. And it looks like I gotta go back to the beginning. Okay. Are we on board? Everybody okay there? Okay. Let me put myself in a corner over here so I don't see it. All right, like I said, my name is Carla Iansiti, and I'm the Sustainability Officer for Student Life Engagement here at Michigan State University. And, I've been on campus 28 years myself, Ferris graduate. My background was in food for the first 15 years, and then I was fortunate enough to work with Benny Gore that came over from the University of Washington here at MSU, and he wanted us to start collecting more than cardboard. And so initiatives got set and a huge student advocacy group to help us build our own MSU surplus store and recycling plant and some other things that kind of developed into this program. So just to kind of give you scope and size a little bit, and when you compare ourselves to other institutions, and this number says 1,500 live on, but I think we're closer to like 16 or 17,000 that live on, and over 50,000 here in the campus proper itself. 27 different residence halls and 2 apartment communities. We have activity centers, spirit shops, golf, tennis, huge dining halls, catering, hotels, concessions. We are an entire community. And if I had to set up like Wes, I would probably need like a dozen ice rinks for something like that. So this is quite a different kind of story. So the way that we're laid out a little bit is we have an Office of Sustainability that oversees, like the rankings and the publicity of sustainability, helps us track to our ASHE Gold status, things like that. We develop the programs for student leadership councils and what our initiatives are going to be. I'm in the Office of Sustainability, which means I'm in the Student Life and Engagement. I work in the housing side. So my direct report is AVP as a divisional officer over the student housing and residential life and culinary services. I take those initiatives from the Office of Sustainability and bring them down into manageable pieces. So not only do I work with a lot of move in, move out programs, we have food waste programs, and I coordinate a lot of student programs, full-time staff ambassador programs, and a lot of outreach with academics. We're used as a living learning lab. We are an agricultural college with over 800 courses in sustainability. So I get tapped quite a bit for different opportunities and how we can engage students and faculty in academics and sustainability. So here's some examples kind of before our program where we got things going. Pack Up Pitch In has been in place for going on 28 years. And it was developed by Chris Jolly and Diane Barker. Diane has since retired, but Chris is still over there at the surplus store to try to find ways we can start to get these materials out of this building without putting these giant 20-yard dumpsters in front of these buildings. As you know, times change. Students are bringing more and more and more stuff. So as we look at this, you can see all this busyness going on with the slide right here. That we are very fortunate as an institution here. We have our own recycling center, recycling our own MRF and our own surplus store. So the idea of being able to capture these types of things from these residence halls gives us an outlet of already where to take it here on campus. And then all the hard work like Wes was doing is what the surplus folks do, where we're looking at these materials. What I do on my end is I figure out how I can capture it out of these residence halls in a way that the surplus store and recycling center can use this material. So this is move-in, for example. We do really good at move-in because most of the things that the students bring in is mostly cardboard. So, we average about a 63% diversion, but you can see the amount of cardboard and stuff that we have. And it takes quite a large scale of folks to get volunteers and helpers to get people to move in, to help us out to break the stuff down. And it's around the clock service. So we have this is my whole equipment board right here. This is an example of what we have set up at every single lobby in a residence hall. We have these giant white Gaylord boxes. I have signs that say donation. This has been an evolving process of things that we have incorporated over the years. Nobody ever has wall space for posters. So I was trying to develop a way that we could get away from printing a poster and put this on foam core board. So we have big posters for bulk items over here in the corner that way we can directionally send students where they put their furniture and their carpets in another location part of the building, maybe a basement or a big lounge or a kiva. And then I have signs that affix permanently right on top of these big white Gaylords. So when students are coming down the elevator to exit their dorm room to go anywhere on campus, they are passing by these bins and then they see these here. And this is something that I prompt them. So they see these same bins that move in. We put them back up for fall move out because you have the different rotations. Maybe some students are graduating for fall. We put them up for spring break to capture anything. And then my big push is I put them up before April because a lot of students tend to go home during Easter. And this is a great opportunity to remind students to start taking items home. But you don't have to, you can drop items here. So we are kind of setting them up all year long for the big finale at the end of the year. And so this is about a month-long program to get it set up. But this is some of the things that do happen. This is outside our back dock areas that you can see when one person puts something down that they shouldn't, everybody else is going to pile on top of it. So it's important for the key communications and folks to know where things go to communicate with all the residents that are living in these halls. You can see some of the laundry carts here on the back dock that we're just putting stuff in when the students drop things off in the lobby. We take them out of there and then we store them someplace at a central location for the surplus store folks to come pick them up. But you can see sometimes we have some mishaps here and we've got futons ending up in dumpsters and just trash. And our diversion rate, unfortunately, I can't compete with the 90-something% that Wes had. We had 32%, but I guess when you break that down per person, it might be pretty good. We have another thing that collects on top of that is besides the food and the clothing and everything we're trying to do, we also collect food donations. We have a combo exchange program here at MSU that it's all you care to eat. But just in case, this came out of COVID, just in case you can't quite make it to a meal and you are busy, you can go down to one of our 22 retail locations and grab a meal item and a snack. A lot of non-perishable items. So we go through separately and collect that stuff as well at our service centers, which are a lot of macaroni and cheeses, protein bars, energy drinks, and stuff like that. That stuff is collected and I directly put that right back out into the community. We have a lot of full-time staff here that maybe volunteers or helps out in the community. And they help me by providing names of certain organizations, and then we just donate to them and what we can. We've been doing that for years. But you can see in 22 and 23, we had 12,000 pounds that we collected during finals week each year. And then it significantly dropped to 6,000 pounds. Well, that was in conversation with culinary that we needed to do something different, that we just had too much food out there. So they started pulling things back a little bit and making more nutritional options and making sandwiches to go. And we now have a couple local companies that are supplying pre-made fresh sandwiches and salads and stuff like that to kind of cut down on those non-perishables, and students still get a choice on the go. So this is where the surplus guys come in. So we'll collect the stuff at the lobby centers. It all goes downstairs into a space of a big building. And then what we'll do is we have an on-call basis that we'll call our partners over here, and they pick the stuff up and they show up with these big box trucks, and we try to help them. We load the trucks in the laundry carts and it all goes over to the warehouse, and then they sort it all out. And then you can see how some of it sits on the sales line and how we get it in the building. This is nonstop work for the least 2-3 weeks at the end of the semester to continually get this stuff out of the way. Now, the way that I try to get help with this kind of thing is I use Sign Up Genius. We have a lot of full-time staff that want to help and participate, and they come help me pack up food, and we just help monitor students. These are full-time staff, maybe some retirees that want to help out. I do a Genius for that. I'm also part of the student affairs, friends with them for the students volunteer. So students can sign up and get some credit on volunteerism they have to do for their academic. And we use a lot of divisional communications. We have newsletters, emails, social medias. Oh, see, I have a typo there. Social medias. We have different organization and programs that outreach to. So my EcoRut Fellowship are our peers, our student peer educators that also help spread the message. This actual week, we have little postcards that we just developed, and we're going to go into residence halls and slide them all under doors to show people that, hey, you can certainly donate this stuff and help them do that, because you have to make it easy or it's not going to happen at all. So that's all I have. That's the basic program there. I figured I would have some questions after that. Here's some resources to kind of show you how the material is moved out. The surplus store will take this material and collect it all, evaluate it, things like that. And then it turns around, they can sell it in the surplus store. We also work with different organizations that are looking for donations. Maybe it's blankets or socks or coats, and they work with them directly. So we don't have various types of donation bins in a lobby confusing our customers as to who gets what to donate where. And this just makes it easy that we can have other organizations go out to the surplus store, and that's how we can disseminate some of this stuff. Now, one thing that I didn't add in this that I need to is we started having more educational opportunities for our students during move out. Like I worked with the surplus center, Katie Deska, their educational manager, and we had a clothing swap. So the students were encouraged, because this is April, this is Earth Month, we had a lot of activities going on. The students were encouraged to bring down items that they didn't want, and they swapped it for things that were in the surplus store. It was a huge hit. So these are opportunities that students are being able to offload maybe some of their linens and clothing, and that way there might be less at the end of the year that we have to deal with. Just different opportunities to raise awareness of what we're trying to do. All right, I will stop sharing. I'll see my questions if I have any.
Thank you, Carla. Thanks so much. Lots of great information, and it's awesome to hear how long your program has been running. And I imagine it has evolved over time. We have a good amount of time for questions, which is awesome, which I'm going to start out with just one question. You both mentioned, what kinds of relationships do you have with housing? I think that, for many of us, it is like the just absolute madness. And anytime you approach partners in housing, It's like, don't even talk to me. And so just curious, especially looking at some of the like pictures of, if there's overflow or whatever, how have you found success building relationships with a community of people who it's like just the craziest time of their lives, and they're really stressed and are maybe a little bit hesitant to take on, something or approve something like this in their spaces?
Well, I'm very fortunate here at MSU because when we look at this program as organized as it is, it's easier for them in the long run because we have a way to collect it. There's a process, there's a way, they're putting it in the same area, safety's involved. We had an example last year where we had some communication errors, and if we don't get that material out of the lobbies, it starts to pile up because these are really big residence halls. It turned into almost like a giant free-for-all rummage sale where the parents were throwing stuff out and going through it. And so they learned, okay, this is something that we're going to have to keep on top of. So I work with my facilities partner closely, and a lot of them are relatively new. So by having these videos and showing them the benefit, and we're doing a neighborhood competition right now, when we're going to do it per person. And Chris Hewitt here at the Recycling Center and Surplus Store is our data guru. And so we're going to collect our data starting at the beginning of Pack Up Pitch In, and then I can communicate that stuff weekly back to our halls to find out how they're doing, how are they diverting it. And we're going to come up with a traveling statue, a trophy that we're hoping that we can give to the winner of the neighborhood that has diverted the most. And we're going to do it based on per student, because halls really vary between a large hall and a small hall, because I have some that house 3,000 people and I have some that only house 200 people. So we have to make it fair. So we're going to try to get that as a motivator. And can we donate the most in this traveling trophy? I hope will be rewarding, that we can kind of up our percentage a little bit more to capture more. That will help. We have a lot of new employees here since the COVID days, and a lot of new training and a lot of experience has left, a lot of retirees. So we're in the middle of a big turnover, all the way up to the top with our president, who's only been here a year. So these are things to help people understand that we do have systems in place, and how you choose to use them is where I'm hoping this will work to help it keep it organized for them, because then it's not as stressful.
Yeah, I'd dovetail that and just say, to Carla's point, I mean, you just have to stay on top of it, right? So in the end, it actually helps, it benefits housing, because that stuff has to get out of those rooms in some way, form, shape, or form or another. And so by having a dedicated area, it prevents just stuff being all over the place. Like, so students are messaged, we hit them, a couple weeks in advance so they can kind of plan for it. And it's actually gone pretty smoothly. It just means that I have to kind of make the rounds maybe every other day to see where those piles start to accumulate. And then as soon as the pile's there, myself or our facilities or some of our student workers are sweeping through and taking it down to the rink. The nice thing is they don't need to do anything except literally throw it in like a little bobcat or something, and drive it down and just dump it in the rink. So they don't have to curate it. They don't have to do anything. It's like pick and drop, pick and drop. And that's happening anyway. I mean, it's kind of happening with the move it anyway. So housing's been very supportive. Actually, I think they've really come around and they see this as it helps them with the move out process. And it's one less thing that they need to worry about, because now I'm worried about it. So no, I found them to be great partners. They've started that messaging already. They have the students' ears through the email correspondence and stuff on move out. And so we've just integrated the donation pieces into the regular move out messaging. So it's, hitting them a couple of times.
Right, great. There was a question about cost. What is the overall cost of your program? And this could apply to both of you. It was originally towards Wes. You said building services moves all the items from the dorms to the ice rink. So can you talk a little bit about like the cost, and whether you do any return on investment in terms of avoided cost of dumpsters, et cetera, and how you kind of can promote it as a from a financial perspective?
Yeah, and so great question. So couple things. One, the state of Massachusetts has all kinds of laws, like there's a clothing ban, for instance, so we can't dispose of it. So inevitably our facilities team is going to have to handle that stuff anyway. We hire a bunch of student workers kind of over the kind of move out window that help with that moving. And so, a lot of our grounds facilities team is like, they're already in that mode of helping with the move out. We have a very quick turnaround. We host our reunions and stuff like the week after graduation. So this stuff has to get out really quickly. So I think they've kind of just absorbed it into kind of, this is part of the move out process. We have to get the stuff out. And if we're taking it to the rink versus taking it to a dumpster, it's actually not a huge, it's not a big difference. The biggest cost for me is I hire a student full-time over the summer, and I have to provide that student with housing and a meal plan and stuff like that. And then my eco reps that I hire help with the staging of it. They're not doing the sorting, but they're the ones that are kind of running that, they're the ones that are there in person when that yard sale's happening and when that clothing event or that book sale's happening. I bet in all it probably cost me $12,000 to $15,000, which is a lot, with the exception of the fact that I bet we actually probably save probably $500,000 plus from going to the landfill. Like the clothing alone is, 10,000 pieces of clothes at a modest 20 to 30, $25. These are nice things. So again, I guess I've taken the broader sustainability lens. Like in the grand scheme, this is a huge financial win, because with a modest investment from the college or my office, we're diverting, large amounts of not only stuff going to landfill, but now they're not going out and buying all that stuff as well. So I've tried to take a more, I would say, a global systems approach to why this is the right thing for us to do. I built it into my budget. I put it in the budget.
And that's primarily where we're at. I have been investing every year a budgeted amount of money for my equipment, which is making sure that the big white gaylords that I'm using and the signs that I'm using are a staple item, and we use those, bring them in, pull them out, store them in every location, so there's not a whole lot of things we have to worry about that. And this is written into our budget as well as part of the move out process, so the facilities team is expected to work on getting these items out of that lobby, because the lobbies are by the doors and it would cause a fire hazard. And then the benefits of having the surplus store, what they'll work with me is it's more expensive for landfill, because then our trucks only get 2 miles a gallon and they have to drive 15 miles. That adds up. So this is a cost savings, because all the things that we pull out of these hauls can be turned into revenue. So they help keep our costs down in housing if we are promising to help them with the diversion factors for more income for them. So it's a good handshake deal, and we can keep things out of the landfill, and we just work together on it.
Thanks. We had lots of questions about mattress toppers. They're the bane of everyone's existence. Can either of you speak to mattress toppers?
I can say, yeah, this is the multi-million-dollar question. We're not allowed to give back. I should have said, we're not allowed to give back bed pillows and mattress toppers to students. So those are not things that we return. I have had better luck with a local homeless shelter who, as long as they're in decent shape, has been willing to take them. I don't make it, maybe, hopefully that's legal. I don't know. But I think we just, inevitably a bunch of them end up in the dumpster. That is one of the casualties. Yeah, I wish there was a quick answer. I believe that the University of Massachusetts across the way has worked out a deal, and I'm hoping to kind of dovetail off of them to find, they have a mattress topper taker. I wish I knew who it was off the top of my head, but I don't. But yeah, I know that is a challenge for everybody.
I don't have a resource for those either, but I know some of us have gotten together and donated some to people to put in dog beds, and stuff like that. Cause I have one for my dog from one of the residence halls, just as a way for cushions, things like that. But I don't have any of my partners here to tell me how many we're landfilling or what the percentage is from that. I don't know.
It looks like Jess Thompson in the chat also says their local animal shelter takes toppers, bedding, pillows, etc. That's great. Finding those partners in need. There was a question about for students who are donating furniture, do you have a system for how students can get bulky items to and from the area where the goods are stored?
Yeah, I can say quickly from me, the rooms are provided with like all their furniture, like we're a residential campus. So there's not a lot of big bulky furniture that students are bringing from off campus in. Occasionally there'll be like a desk chair or something that they've substituted out. So I don't have that problem. Like I'm not offering back couches and stuff like that. That doesn't find its way to me. I'm sure there is some of that. but that's not stuff that I'm offering back. The biggest thing might be a small like bedside table or a desk chair or like a shoe rack or something, which hasn't been a problem.
I wish I could say the same thing.
Yeah.
So the rooms do come furnished and they have those items in there, and they do not have the ability of taking that furniture out and storing it anywhere. So that's a positive sign. Otherwise, we would find, their own dressers and stuff in there. So we don't necessarily have that. What we do find as we are having, whether we have transitional housing of too many students in one room until something opens up, 2 or 3 students in a room, they will purchase a lot of futons and for sitting space. So we do find love seats and maybe futons that can be converted into a bed, a lot of lamps, mirrors, household items, plastic totes, craft things that their toiletries are on, things like that we do have. And we have A-frames with big 20 by 18 signs that say large furniture this way, and we will direct them out of the center of the building into a space that hopefully we can get the students to carry it out themselves. In the event that they can't do that, we do have the service desk that is open with maintenance lines that we can call towards the end, and maybe they can get some help to move some items down if we do have some needs of students that can't do that.
Okay, great. What about items, clothing specifically, but other items that might need to be cleaned prior to donation or to the sale or the free sale that you host, Wes?
We don't clean them. So the easy, at one point I was like getting ambitious, like, oh, we're going to clean them all. We are very transparent that before you put any of this on, you need to clean that. I will say the student that goes through, again, we do come across clothes that are in complete disrepair or smell terrible or something like that. And we set those aside and those go to a separate recycle, like a textile recycling facility. So there is a level of curation that we're not putting back things, like we're not making stuff that's really gross back available. I will say though, actually, I've been pleasantly surprised. The first year it was nasty. Like there was just, people wished like just dumped stuff and it was mixed in with all kinds of other stuff. They've gotten better. I would say, last year I felt that most of what was being donated in the clothing, because we give them a separate clothing bag with a label. So they've curated a little bit at their room level. We remind them again and again, if you wouldn't wear this or a fellow student wouldn't wear this, don't give it to us. Like this is meant to be rewearable. And that seems to have caught on. So no, but we don't wash the linens, the towels, any of that we give back, and just make it very, very clear that that is your responsibility. Laundry is quote unquote free on campus. It's included. So it's not coming at a huge expense to the students. They just got to take it back to their res hall and obviously launder it. But that hasn't been a problem. I was worried about that, but actually from a practical standpoint, there's no way to clean 10,000 pieces of clothes.
I have the same kind of program Wes does. We have free laundry in the facilities, and having these clothing swaps and vintage things going on, that has really helped a lot when it comes to those type of materials. And our surplus folks will go through those if they're just too dastardly.
Wes, only the home decor and book sale for your family weekend are the items that are sold. Everything else is free.
Everything's free on there.
Everything.
So the room decor stuff is free, the clothing is free, and the books are free.
Okay. Everything is free. Great.
Yeah.
The only other question I see is, and I'm not sure how if this applies to you at all. You are both doing amazing and inspiring work. Our school is in a small town in an economically challenged rural area. We have a small campus reuse free store, but I worried that expanding it would pull the best resources from our local Goodwill Habitat stores and deny access to community that really benefits from campus donations. Any perspectives on that concern? So I'm guessing that instead of donating to a Goodwill, they would be donating to the campus reuse store, and then the Goodwill doesn't benefit, and the people using Goodwill wouldn't benefit from those items. Any perspective on that?
The only perspective I can give it a little history on that is years ago, when we were trying to, we have an overabundance of just lots of furniture and pieces. We tried a long time ago to bring on some volunteer organizations. This is before campuses had to be locked down, background checks, security kind of stuff, where we would talk to 3 or 4 different local organizations and had them come on campus. We figured if we had stuff kind of coming out of the residence halls, they could have their choice and still benefit. Everybody could benefit from this. Well, it turned into, and I'm trying to, I'll keep it positive here, but it turned into, well, you got better stuff than I did. And it just got to the point of unrealistic goals of who gets what, and it turned into this uncomfortable situation. So now everything just goes to the surplus store first. And then from there, our surplus folks can determine what organizations that they are partnering with. A lot of people in this community, on and off the community, they have relationships that they can reach out to those areas that are in dire need and work with them directly. It's kind of behind the scenes, but it does benefit everyone, and it just saves the respect of the situation.
And I'll add really quickly, I mean, I've thought about this a lot, Leanna, because that's something I was worried about. Like, I don't want to, put out the local thrift shops and stuff like that. I will say, actually, it's been a win-win. So we do work with the local survival center, and they get whatever's left over. I mentioned, 10,000 clothes. I gave out maybe 6,000. So they're getting 4,000 pieces of clothes, and they've been curated, and like, we're not giving them junk. Like, it's already been sorted, which we used to give them, a direct, like, just here's all the move out stuff. And it was a nightmare for them because they had to now sort it, curate it, go through it all, take out the broken stuff, figure that all out. And honestly, we overwhelmed them. Like, I'm in a rural, like, Western Mass is not like huge city. They don't want 20 tons of donated materials. Like, they don't have the storage capacity either. So actually, they've loved this. Like, what I'm giving them, it has been picked over by the students, but it's still wearable stuff or usable stuff. And so they're still getting an abundance of stuff, and it's in much better shape than the stuff that they would have otherwise got from before. So it's been a win-win. I don't think we've
Great.
taken away, their business per se.
Okay, thank you. I have a quick closing slide, but I do want to end on this question, which is sort of goes back to what we are all striving for, which is the zero-waste hierarchy of reduction. So do either of your offices, maybe in like a 30-second quick response, run education campaigns on overconsumption or hyperconsumerism to sort of like reduce what people are bringing onto campus to begin with, so that you don't have to worry about it at the end? Or is it a losing battle?
Absolutely. No, I think, I'm a big fan of the more we can push this up that hierarchy, that the easiest thing not to figure a home for is the stuff I don't, that doesn't get bought. Most of my effort is focused on closing the loop. So again, students are going to buy desk lamps and stuff like that, but at least now they're not getting rid of one, throwing it away, and then going out and buying another one in the fall. So I feel better that it's but I'm educating them a lot on not only am I saving you money, but I'm helping reduce the grand consumerism that kind of plagues, American society. So my eco reps do a lot of messaging around that, how important that part is. Recycling is the last thing kind of on the hierarchy. Like, don't put all our efforts there. Let's focus on the reduce, reuse components first.
I do the same thing. I have 18 student eco reps that live in the residence halls as part of a prerequisite to work with me, and they become peer educators to have these conversations. And then we have over 80 different registered student organizations around sustainability. And since it's Earth Month, we have campaigns and resource fairs and events all the time about the possibility of, do you need that, or fast fashion, those information things. Because we just had a resource fair. We got ice cream socials coming up. We've got Upcycle Fridays out of the surplus store. So these are conversations that we've been having all year long through fun and engagement programs for our students. So absolutely.
Great. Thank you both so much. This has been really informative and exciting and inspiring. I want to thank both you, Wes and Carla, as well as Tom and Clean River for their sponsorship. Travis behind the scenes, our CURC board chair or former chair, to helping out running things smoothly. I just wanted to throw this out there. So as I mentioned, this is the second webinar of 2025. Our third webinar is Thursday, June 12th at 2 p.m. same time. This focusing on the topic of engaging custodial teams, our critical teams and partners in sustainable waste management. So be on the lookout for information and the registration link coming soon. You can see the other topics that we will be hosting the rest of the year. And if you're interested in submitting a proposal to share what's happening at your campus, please visit our website, curc3r.org. And the slides and recording and everything from today will be on our website in about a week or so. And also we will send out a follow-up email in our email listserv. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck with your Earth Day celebrations, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.